WCNC Charlotte. This is Flashpoint, where power and politics collide.
Thanks for joining us here on Flashpoint. I'm Ben Thompson. On Monday, Charlotte City Council expected to start up a new term. Leaders getting ready to start their first full 2-year term in years after delayed census data cut the previous term down to just a single year. In a moment, you'll hear from Victoria Watlington about her new role in council. But first, Tark Bakari winning his district in South Charlotte by just 300 votes. The Republican pulling out a win in an increasingly Democratic district. Joining us now is Charlotte City Councilman Tark Bakari. Councilman, welcome back to Flashpoint. It's been a bit.
It has. Glad to be here.
All right. So were you surprised by how close your race was, even though it was close just a year ago?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. And I actually spent several months leading up to that trying to convince everyone also to not be surprised, because at the end of the day, this was a Biden plus 21 district in its form that currently exists. And I just ran in on the same ballot that I was on this election cycle. Mayor Vi Lyles won it by plus 30.5 points. So this is not this Republican stronghold that people thought it was. In fact, it's the exact opposite. So I knew it was going to take a pretty large effort and some deep focus to be able to pull it out and keep it in Republicans' hands for a little bit longer.
Yeah, you are one of 2 Republicans on City Council. Do you believe it is inevitable that District 6 at some point, and there's been a long line of Republicans before you, I think Kenny Smith, Andy Doolin, do you think eventually it is going to go Democrat?
If the trends continue, there's no doubt. I mean, the fact that it hasn't already is probably a little bit head scratching. But I don't give up hope to say that's ultimately the inevitable. I mean, it's a mixture of the bluing of the county, which is occurring, but also there's a lot of things that that people are very frustrated by. And really, when you see that, in any room in Charlotte of 10 people, there's about 2 or less that are kind of making the municipal decisions of who gets elected for everyone. That moment when regular good people wake up and say, wait a minute, like, what's going on with crime or officer morale or aggressive panhandling or homelessness or roads? There's a moment where they'll snap into it. And I just hope that moment isn't too late. And they'll start demanding this stuff. And once they realize that maybe some of the people they're sending up aren't equipped to be able to solve it, they'll put the people in there, and it won't be based on R or D. It'll be on who's actually going to get the job done.
As we start a new council on Monday, what are some of your priorities?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of listed them off a second ago, but to go one level deeper, the number one thing to me is crime right now. And it was really shocking to me because, I've always, over the years I've been on with you and we've known each other, it's been a proud thing for me to represent and be a champion for our police officers and our first responders. Crime is always something that I thought we never quite had a handle on, but this process has been eye-opening. People got angry with me on the other side of the aisle and in other leadership positions that I was saying crime was out of control. And I was like, I didn't understand. They were like, you're fear mongering. I was like, no, I'm calling out the thing I'm hearing from all of my constituents, almost all of them, that, yeah, crime is bad. So there's this cherry picking of stats and kind of, trying to declare that all is well when maybe violent crimes are slightly down in some cases, but still unacceptable. These like property crimes and all of these other items are substantially up, and they touch far more lives than anything else. So my first priority is to go back and attack that head on. And that includes officer morale and building that up. That includes having the ordinances on the books, working with the DA and a lot of other things. But it isn't just going to be crime if for the next 2 years. It also has to include a real hard yet empathetic look at homelessness and aggressive panhandling. We've got to figure out how to handle our transportation issues, because Silver Line and the old dead light rail plan of the past just isn't going to get done. So we've got a lot to do. I'm going to try to pick and choose a few things, but crime and officer morale is going to stay at the very top. I'm
going to touch on some of the things you just mentioned. This week, Charlotte City Council giving final approval to have National Express Transit as the new contractor for CATS. Realize that's just one component of a much larger issue going on at the agency. But are you starting to have a renewed confidence in cats, to use a driving metaphor? Do you believe that the agency has turned a corner?
Yes, they are heading down the tracks, Ben. I'll tell you. I feel that, to return the pun. So, yes, is the quick answer to that. And I'll tell you that while I can say that quickly, it was a long time in the making to get me to be able to do that. And you'll recall, I was the canary in the coal mine for over a year after I had lost confidence in John Lewis, the CEO. I was raising the red flag to everyone saying something is wrong here, very wrong in cats. And then lo and behold, after an immense effort, and now getting him out, getting Brent Cagle in there, and then doing a complete overhaul after all we've seen. It is not perfect by any stretch, but folks will tell me behind the scenes now, you were right. And man, did we need to really pay attention? So that's kind of like setting the foundation, and then we can build the broader structure of cats on top of that. But in order to do what's next, right, which is design that transformational investment in our transportation system, we had to do it on a solid foundation of cats.
And that brings me to the Red Line. Norfolk Southern has showed a renewed interest in sharing its track. That is a game changer, not only for the Red Line to Northern Mecklenburg, but also for the entire mobility plan, because that was holding up a lot of the other things. Are you optimistic about it?
Well, yeah, but I just find it funny how everyone, you're saying the exact same thing everyone else is saying. What I have been working on and seeing, though, for the last 10 years is the Red Line was always achievable. It was always achievable, but there were the political, forces that made commitments and pandered the Silver Line to everyone. And the Red Line was just kind of a thing that they got a tax passed a long time ago. And the minute a headwind came up from Norfolk Southern, some claimed, from NC Railroad, others claimed, they were like, oh, it's impossible, we can't do it. It was never impossible. It was just a little challenging, and everyone completely gave up on trying to figure it out. So now, massive organization, Norfolk Southern is saying, yeah, maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel here. And I think that's good news, because it's another tool in the tool belt, but we have to redesign the entire plan. The Red Line could be part of that, but things like the Silver Line simply will not, unless we invent a new form of money.
And do you have, you have the Republicans in Raleigh. Do you see anything changing with them when it comes to this mobility plan? Because they've, as you know, expressed a certain skepticism of it.
Yeah, look, if the plan stays exactly the same as it has been, and a new coat of paint has been slapped on it every 3 or 4 years, it's dead on arrival still. The General Assembly is going to do nothing with it. But if there's a combination of things that happen that starts with an overhaul to a roads first plan, and there are plenty of things we can do with our roads that will drastically impact congestion, from smart light technologies to how we design the grid to all of those things. But then add on things like the Red Line, potentially even the Silver Line west to the airport, where it's a mixture of transit modes, but it is a roads first strategy. I believe, in my conversations with everyone up there, that not only is it possible that then they would support it, there's potentially state money that could come along with it. But the point is, everyone still refuses here locally to admit that the Silver Line is dead. And that's because they've pandered for too long to get elected because of it.
I think we all saw the pictures out of Charlotte Douglas last week during the Thanksgiving holiday that looked absolutely miserable. And you got to have some other ways, whether it be just roads, but also other transit of getting in and out of that place, because by all accounts, it was an absolute mess. All right.
Yeah.
Tariq Bokhari, getting not reinstated, but sort of taking on a new term there at City Council starting this next week. Best of luck with that, and come back to Flashpoint anytime. Tariq, thank you.
Will do. See you in a few years, Ben.
All right. Not a few years. I'm sure it'll be sooner than that. All right. More Flashpoint after this.